couple of weeks anyway, you'll be immune, so that's good.
We hope.
Ready to go? All right, well, we welcome you to the Selectmen's meeting, Tuesday, the 16th of February, 4 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. First item will be to review the minutes of January 19th.
I didn't have an
Okay.
an email first.
I have just a couple of things about that. Under Grassy Hill Bridge discussion, which is project update.
So which now?
Grassy Hill Bridge. That's under the project updates, page 3.
Page 3.
And similar comment on new business, Rogers Lake Dam, which is A, and that's under page 4. I just wanted to add that Selectmen also requested or asked First Selectmen to reach out to our legal or insurance agencies to review any implications of these issues. So one was not doing Grassy Hill Bridge because we know there's accidents. Are we under any, is there any legal implication for not doing the project? And then for the Rogers Lake Dam, just to make sure that there wasn't anything else that would suggest we added in the maintenance and operation guidance. And then finally, on page 3, project updates, 10 Mahague Landing, little C, I would just like added that Selectmen knows will read the state statute authorizing the Board of Selectmen to manage the upland concerns. And that's it.
Okay. We can entertain a motion. Mr. Kerr.
Second with those changes.
Okay. Move as modified. All in favor?
Aye.
Very well. I received a communication from Tech Associates, TEC Associates, based in South Portland, Maine. I do this annually, but they perform a vegetation management plan for the National Railway Passenger Corporation, Amtrak. And I think what that involves is to apply herbicide, I'm sure within the regulations on the railway corridor, to keep the vegetation from growing into the train track area. So we have some information on that if anybody's interested. It's just informative, but just thought I'd mention it. Turning to appointments.
Yeah, a couple other communications. We had received, the Selectmen received something from a letter from
If you could swivel that mic, because otherwise that's the.
the EDC had sent us communication on requesting a joint boards and commissions meeting to review their findings, and I didn't see that on here, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. So maybe you could reach out to Howard again on that. He sent quite a detailed request. And then there was a third communication that
Is this something that was sent to us?
Yes. Yep.
So can we put it on for the next meeting?
I'm kind of thinking that Tim needs to follow up on this because there's a time commitment. Trying to find my copy. How about if I find my copy and email it to you all tonight? when I
Okay.
get home, if I can't put my hands on it right now. But he was very explicit how reviewing the findings of their reports, which we've seen, they've been on the website, and working with their consultant, relate to a lot of boards and commissions and their activities in town. And then he's suggesting to have a joint board and commission meeting to reflect on these findings, so that to help the town focus and move forward. So it's pretty important. I want to say it's sent to be just after our last meeting in January. And then there was another communication that I could not.
Well, I might suggest that, why don't you, before the meeting, make sure if you have something you want to have on the, let me know, and we'll make sure that I've seen it and we can get it on here.
Well, this came to all of us. It wasn't just me.
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but if I don't list every piece of correspondence I get, so I think if it's for the common good, we can put it on. But if either of you have something you'd like to include, make sure I see it. Just give me a phone call, shoot me an email, something like that.
I guess I feel like if it's important, I can do that. But if somebody takes the time to send us all a communication, that we should be responsible enough to, make sure that we communicate that we receive those. I don't really think that that's my job. But I'll see if I can find that again from Howard. I mean, he's a board chair, but it's pretty important. The other issue isn't down here, and I couldn't find it, so maybe you have it under your email. We received a communication in January from a group that's concerned with social justice, and they wanted to have a meeting with the Board of Selectmen. And I hunted for that, but over the last month I couldn't find it, so hopefully you have that. That's it.
Okay. Okay, turning to appointments. Park and Rec, there was a bit of a hiccup. John Flower had responded affirmatively but didn't get on the list, and so here he is, but he's an existing member and wants to continue, so it would be for a 3-year term from January. John Flower.
I move to make a motion.
Second?
Okay, moving second. All in favor, Mr. Flower? Aye. Okay, next is the Economic Development Commission. It's a 5-year term. We have applications from Sherry Cody and from Maura Rowe. I think we have seen information on Sherry with respect to a prior application, but she has been, she worked with the Eastern Chamber of Commerce for many years, I think 17 years, and was actually involved when the Old Chamber was affiliated with the Eastern Chamber. She was involved with the Old Chamber as well, and she has extensive work with economic development commissions. She is working with Sector, Southeast Connecticut Enterprise. It's a regional economic development district, and served on the Waterford EDC before moving to Olyme. And Moira, we've discussed Moira. She resides in Essex, and she relocated to Essex from California. Worked with Gil Borough, and has recently been employed by the Lyme Art Academy as its director, and she had a distinguished career in California. So we need to, we can
appoint Sherry Cody to the Economic Development Commission for 5-year term.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded for Sherry Cody. All in favor of that?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Now, just a question here. these meetings are open to the public just like any other ones, right? So
Oh, yeah.
this other more, so you can attend as much as you want, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely. Okay, the next one is the Rogers Lake Authority.
Wait, Halls Road.
Oh, Halls Road. Yeah, excuse me. Halls Road Improvement Committee. That would be a no specific term. Stephen Calcagni. He lives on Library Lane. A previous service no aligned, he says Open Space Commission, 30 years in the brokerage business, 15 years in the development business, specializing in residential mixed use. Currently ushering Stonebridge, I can't make that word, ushering Stonebridge Crossing in, looks like, I don't know, through Permis Development Sales as a principal. I met him. He was interested in doing something in town, which didn't come to fruition. But so that's the application we have from Halls Road.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next is the Rogers Lake Authority. We have an applicant, Manisha Joshi. She lives on Grassy Hill Road, and she, let's see, my previous career in New Jersey, I was a licensed attorney, practiced real estate as an in-house counsel. And she's recommended by the Rogers Lake Authority, Dennis Overfield, and so she has attended a meeting and seemed like she would be a good addition according to Dennis.
I make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then the Soundview Commission, this would basically be putting these alternates, renewing them. They are one-year terms. I understand there may be a resignation of one of the regular members, but at this point that hasn't happened, so just to keep things going, we have Frank Murata, Jackie Maiano, and Paul Orzel as existing alternates. And if we renew them, if something happens, we can make a change at that point.
Question. This has been a rather testy one. We've been getting, emails from a particular resident in Soundview who's wanted to be on the commission for over a year now and in some capacity. And she recently sent the Soundview Commission a copy of the Board of Selectmen again on her request. Has the chair of the Soundview Commission responded about this person's interest and his feeling on this?
Papalardo, the chair, about a different alternate?
This person, well, I think she volunteered to be on where there's an opening. So then she wrote this request a while ago, over a year ago, a couple times. She's put her hat in the ring. And now we get the alternates added to Soundview, and I was just wondering why, and if the chair had considered this other person who's been asking to be on there for this role.
Well, these are, we're just renewing their appointments for these, and supposedly within the next couple of weeks, I guess, there's going to be a resignation, so then there'll be an opening, so then we can possibly entertain that person.
Sure, that's an option, but also, as you know, oftentimes they move up an alternate into the regular seat, so In order to get somebody new and passionate about an issue, sometimes you gotta make a change where you can. And I'm asking if you guys have heard from Frank on whether any of these alternates could be, that this new person could be seated for one of those persons in his opinion.
I haven't talked to Frank. This is the first time. You know, someone asked.
Well, I think Frank is content with these people.
Okay.
If there's another change, then we can evaluate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wondered if you'd heard something on this, because there were several emails, and she wrote a very nice letter, I thought, to all of us, and I think it would have deserved some response. She took the time to really express her interest, and I appreciate that.
So I make a motion for all three to be moved.
Yep, that'd be fine.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have Mr. Fred Barringer, lives on Stonewood, wishes to become an alternate on the tree commission. He was actually at the walk that the tree commission had, but he has a general interest in environmental stewardship. He has a good basic knowledge of trees and issues facing trees. He's a member of the Connecticut Forest and Park Association, enrolled in Goodwin Master Naturalist Level 1 class, biology degree, plant physiology PhD. Seems eminently qualified.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will proceed to the old business.
I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to, Jane Cable is on the line. Do you think we should move her up?
We could do that.
So we shouldn't have to sit through all of
Yeah, I'm
this.
trying to recall if that's 2 9s. I don't want to rub them all out here. Let me go get my crib sheet, because I talk amongst yourselves here for a second. I usually have a sheet there.
Yeah, I know, it's gone.
If I'm unmuted, this will take 5 minutes tops.
How'd you on mute?
Can you hear us, Jane?
The whole time.
Okay. We
You want me to
thought
talk
we muted
about
you. Poor Jim went to different screeching.
I could talk about the alternate.
Okay, well,
Wait
good.
till-
We'll make a motion soon here then.
What's she talking about?
This is as thrilling as zoning.
She's under new business B.
Oh, budget.
She's unmuted. At least you got your cheat sheet.
Yeah.
2 9s.
No,
Star didn't work either.
It didn't work. She heard herself, so she could talk.
Oh, all right. So we will move under new business the Ethics Commission budget, which is 6B. We will move that up before old business. Can we have a motion for that?
Second?
Motion seconded. All in favor? Okay. Jane, you can hear us, right?
Yep, that's me.
All right. Well, I wanted to do a little preamble. I must say that you and I reviewed the budget and came up with some changes to the original request, which was $7,500, to provide for some clerical and some legal, but modestly, relatively. And I think that the nature of the work is if there are no hearings that the commission is to partake in, that probably it's going to be a very brief meeting. And what do you have? Quarterly scheduled meetings? Is that what the frequency is, or on demand?
Right now, it's on demand.
Okay, so
I can't schedule meetings until the code is revised.
oh, that's not true. You could have a schedule of meetings, even if if you want to meet quarterly, you could have those meetings and meet either as a group, or you could do it with the telephone, such as we're doing, etc. But I guess probably that you're supposed to have a schedule of meetings with the town clerk for the year. I don't know if it's always going to be special meetings the way you're talking, but regardless, if there is a case that's going to be involved, then I think you and I talked about the need to have a clerk take minutes of the proceedings. And if there was an issue that might require outside counsel, we put some dollars in the budget for a modest amount in that regard. So you're going back to wanting the $7,500. So that's a change, and I was a little perplexed about that, but I'm sure you have your reasons.
Well, yes, I do. 1,900 is not enough to do anything with. The Ethics Commission, when I joined, was totally dysfunctional because the code doesn't give directions for a well-functioning ethics commission. It needs more than minor revisions. The small amount of money makes me feel that I'm expected to donate unpaid legal services to the Ethics Commission in an attempt to revise the code. I don't think Chris gets asked to do uncompensated real estate appraisals because he sits on a town commission. The code needs extensive revision. The commission needs some representation at town hall. We don't even have a mailbox, let alone anybody to do administrative work. That falls on me too.
Well, you have 5 members and up to 3 alternates. 3
of the members are brand new, and that includes me. There was a wholesale resignation or dropout from the commission. Also, we have a complaint pending. I let the subject of the complaint know today about it. We haven't had a full commission to hear it until now. The Ethics Commission needs a lot of work. It also needs oversight by the Board of Selectmen, which is another revision to the code. The Ethics Commission reports to nobody. It appoints its own members. They don't even know their terms of office.
Well, they should.
I had to
It's
take
not.
a bet.
That's not an excuse.
Should, but people keep dropping out. I've set my best guess, and I've talked it over with Vicki. But right now, I think the Ethics Commission is in serious disarray, and it's going to take more than $1,900 to fix it. I made a modest request of $7,500. If it turns out to be overreach, we'll give the money back.
Well, have you made a
But
budget?
we have
Have you made a budget as to how these dollars would be apportioned amongst the various things?
I can. I was looking for Selectmen's report, and I've requested support, and I've requested to be on the Board of Finance Commission agenda in March. I can have a detailed budget by then. Frankly, most of this is going to be legal fees.
All right, so when this Ethics Commission was formed, there was an intent to make it somewhat independent and not under the thumb of the Selectmen. And of course, we know that the terms of the people ended, and that was a very bad problem. And so there was an amendment to that ordinance which said that members' terms would not be relieved of their duty until a replacement was appointed. So what you're getting
That
at...
doesn't make them show up and do their jobs. They just don't show.
Well, that is some people, you're attributing that to certain individuals. I don't think other boards and commissions have the same problem. So maybe we had bad luck with certain members, but hopefully we're beyond that. And
I think the code has got to specify a working commission with some oversight, so what happened to the commission before I got on never happens again. It was a recipe for disaster, and the disaster happened. And I think a fresh set of legal eyes belonging to people who didn't draft the code and its amendments is well considered. I don't think, in all the years that Sussman Shapiro's been town attorney and attorney for the Ethics Commission, I don't think any suggestions ever been made that maybe the Ethics Code needs some revision.
well, certainly the prior members didn't request such, so I guess this would be a new recommendation. I think we would have to get a draft budget.
I'd like to go to municipal attorneys. I can have a draft budget for you by the end of the week, after I get my booster shot tomorrow. And
You won't be going anywhere at the end of the week.
Oh, that's
I'll
right.
take it
I won't show up in person and shed virus on you.
No.
But I can have it by
You're gonna be knocked out.
Yeah, no, wait till you recover from your booster, is what we're saying. Don't commit to
Nobody
something.
ever knocks me out, Tim. But I can have it by the end of the week. It's going to be sketchy because I've never made a budget before. I've always had a nice administrator to do it for me. So, there's no support, as well as no oversight, there's no support for the Ethics Commission. It's like some horrible foster child that, like Cinderella, doesn't even belong there. Nobody at Town Hall knows anything about it.
Well, for good reason. Didn't meet.
Well, that's going to change. It's got to change.
Yeah.
It can't operate in a silo all by itself. That's just asking for it to crash and burn again. And nobody will know.
Well, I guess
until somebody with a complaint starts screaming again.
it would seem that the concept is fairly straightforward. You have a commission that would listen to complaints from the public and discuss it and make decisions and so forth and so on. I guess if there is a case that comes before the group, then you have to have the resources to deal with that.
We have a case.
Yeah.
We have a case right now.
Okay.
And we have a budget of $25. That's supposed to last us till July.
Well, as many boards and commissions and other spending agencies know, if something comes along that rocks the boat, then they can come to the Board of Finance and say, we have a case and it's going to get involved and we will need an additional appropriation, or we just want you to be aware that we have to deal with this case, and when we're further along we might be able to quantify it, but just so you're on notice, and then you spend whatever money is necessary, and once the thing is over, then it's like a snow budget with public works. You don't know how much it's going to snow, and if it gets to be a big deal, then you inform the finance people, and they're going to be understanding. I mean, we have to go through the process, so it won't be withheld.
To use your analogy, we don't have the sand, salt, and trucks, let alone we've got a snowstorm. We need the code revision as well. It's not just a case, it's the requirement to revise the code. In your spare time, take a look at the 6 pages. It's not very good.
Well, have you contrasted it with other ethics ordinances with other towns?
I'm not going to throw free legal work into this before I know I have support for hiring legal work.
Well, you have to tell the legal what you want them to do, and I would imagine that
I know what I want to do.
The commission would be probably give the prospective attorney direction and say, we've looked at a few of these ordinances and here's where we think ours is deficient and so forth. I don't know if you just clap your hands and say, come in and solve the problem without a little homework by
Before running around and looking at other communities' ethics codes, I thought I would ask a municipal attorney what kind of code functions the best. I'm really not eager to throw weeks of studying other towns' codes into this when I know a good municipal attorney can point me in the right direction. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I just want a code of ethics that functions efficiently.
Can we chat? Can we Chris and I chime in?
What?
Can we chime in? Can
We
Chris
talk.
and I talk?
Pardon? Oh, chime away.
Can we comment?
Of course. Yeah.
Good, thank you. Jane, this is Mary Jo. Thank you very much for bringing lots of issues
Can you speak up?
I'm sorry?
Speak up.
You got is that microphone on your little
Yeah,
green?
that goes to the room.
Can you hear me, Jane, better now?
Barely.
That thing goes to the speakers in the room. Just do the thing on the hockey puck there.
How about
You
this?
need Tim's ability to project his voice.
How about this?
Got it.
You heard that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's my mask. It's a good mask, which we're supposed to be wearing. Jane, I just want to thank you for bringing these issues up. I mean, the Ethics Commission is really, really important. Obviously, it's a statutory requirement that it run efficiently. And Tim's right, that when it was set up, it was supposed to function independently. But clearly, we've seen and you brought up that needs to be adjusted. I also think it makes sense that we work with somebody who does this for a living so that it's efficient, the fixes that have to be put in place. So, and somebody that does this as a specialty, and it makes sense to have possibly fresh eyes on this as opposed to the folks that drafted it the first time. A question, do we still have an ombudsman?
Yes.
Is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
I
It used to be
can't
Mary
track
Lynn,
that
that's why
person down.
It used to be Mary Lynn.
Mary Lynn has nothing to do with the Ethics Commission. I communicated with her in the beginning,
Okay.
and she said essentially, why me?
Okay, all right. I just wanted to ask that question.
So we don't have,
Okay.
we don't have one of those
Okay,
either.
all right. And I also think you should be more independent as the chair of this than instead of drafting the new regulations that you're going to oversee. That makes no sense to me either. So it totally makes sense to me that we go out to municipal attorneys that do this for a living and get it fixed so that the intent of the Ethics Commission works.
Yeah.
What?
I was thinking of Matt Willis, who represented the zoning commission and did a fine job and is easy to work with. But, you know, that's just what I'm inclined to say.
Well, it seems to me anyway that the budget is insufficient to allow you to do allow what needs to be done to make the commission run efficiently and serve this town. I know you would not provide this estimate without some real good idea of what it's going to take, and I appreciate that. And again, I think it's important that we try and get independent people working on the solution rather than yourself.
Well, I could write in that I would be chairman for life, but yeah, I can't write the code for a commission I'm serving on. I don't think that's right.
No, that wouldn't be expected.
And I don't have it in me anymore to put in the hours and hours of work that it would require, because I don't know how to, I'm not a specialist in municipal law. It won't take hours and hours for an attorney that's used to doing it. So I'll reinvent the wheel, tire myself out, and need a second booster shot. So, you know, I'd like your support for a budget that's reasonable. And I think $7,500 for an entire year is reasonable, realizing that we have to set aside probably $1,500 or $2,000 for potential clerical work in case there's an appeal or in case we have to go to public hearing.
Well,
We originally had these drafted up by an attorney, correct?
I don't know who wrote them. I guess.
well, Jack Collins was involved in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it may have been Sussman Shapiro. Maybe it was Mary Lynn, but
No,
I think it was
Collins.
Sussman Shapiro.
It was Sussman Shapiro.
It was Jack Collins, Jane, you're correct. But even he's
Okay.
told me over the last couple of years, there've been a couple issues that I've run into since I've been in this office. And I asked him about it, you know, can I do this? And he said, you know, it's a nice thing that you want to do this, but under our ethics code, there's some question. So he even told me, he goes, that's an area that should be revisited. You know, here's an example. We have a member of this community who wants to donate some very nice benches to the town. Under the ethics code, since she is a town official, there's some question with that, if someone were to make that concern, the way the code is written. So, I mean, that's an area that the code needs to be modified to make it, to make donations with the right intent allowable.
So we could take stuff, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Well, then,
I'll
I
make
mean,
a
that's an
note.
example of, you know, maybe the code was too strict when initially drafted, but real life plays into it. Now we have circumstances that we should look at to modify the code to allow us to do some good things for the community.
Yeah, overall, I think the drafters of the code didn't consider this is a small town and everybody's connected. And you have to walk carefully before you find a violation of the ethics code. And the code has to account for that. We all know each other. We've all worked together. I mean, and the code is not, I don't even know the word for it. It's not subtle enough to account for that. We all have an interest in everything that goes on in town. And you've got to be careful when you define a conflict of interest. We can't go around pointing fingers at one another and holding hearings and ruining people's reputations. So I think
right.
the code needs a good hard look.
I think what would be fruitful is if you and I spent a while coming up with that other budget, and I thought you agreed with me. So if you want to change it, why we need you to change it the way you think it should be. If there's going to be a slug of money that would be to revise the code of ethics, the ordinance, then that could even be considered more of a capital type thing, so it doesn't make the budget balloon unnecessarily. You know, as we go into future years, you'd be looking back and you say, well, what was that? So it might be we would try to quantify what we think this revision might be. And I would say that maybe the past isn't a good prediction of the future, but I don't think there were very many cases over the years. So I don't know that it would be necessary to put oodles of money for clerical and legal. If something comes along and it becomes more involved, then just like the snowplow, you know.
Okay, so you want this as a one-time legal expense, and then a modest
an operating budget that would be consistent year after year.
Fine.
And I don't think the past is going to be a good educator for us because maybe the commission wasn't functioning that well. Okay, why don't you do that, and then we can review that.
Okay.
And then when the Board of Finance, they'll be the ultimate deciders. We can make a recommendation to them. But I think that would be helpful, and, you know, give us the name of your attorney and what you think the hourly rate and all that stuff would be for this project, if you will.
Very good. I will do that. Thank you for your time. Good luck with the rest of the meeting.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
All participants have been muted.
All right. So we will go to the old business. I have from Ledge Light, or the Department of Health, that we have 272 cases from the beginning, although I think I saw in the paper today that it was in the 260 range, so I don't know. It's a lot. And I think we can take comfort in the fact that the rate ratios in the state are improving between the positivity and the hospitalizations and so forth. So, and as injections are coming along, I think that the telephone line, which which emergency management set up, has received about 100 calls, I think, and they've been overwhelmed, relatively speaking, but they're getting those people appointments. We also have, through the Estuary Transit District, the Curtin Taxi business is offering people who don't have access to rides, cab rides to the various appointments, which would not be charged. So I think things are improving on that front. I think most people know that the 65-year-olds and up are eligible to have their shots, and once that group is fairly well underway, I'm not sure just what the next group will be, whether it be essential workers or teachers or just what, but that's progressing pretty well there. The under that section, we have the employee COVID protocol that has been refined and distributed to people. So it's a good reference piece for employees to consult if they think they have been exposed, or they have been exposed, or their spouse was exposed. All different types of variations that this document covers it. So that's a piece that we're following here in Town Hall. So we thank Mary Jo and Dave and others who helped get that to the final stage. It's too bad there isn't a template that we could all use, but I think our document does a nice job. Looking at project updates, Soundview sidewalks. Mary Jo, do you want to comment?
I'll try. Yeah, thank you, Tim. We had a busy month. The engineering group that we work with, the BSC group, submitted the project final plans to the DOT on January 31st. And that included the one easement that we need at the Easy Mart on Hartford Avenue and Shore Road. And on February 5th, we got approval from the DOT to plan to advertise for a contractor. We were not asked any follow-up questions, so I think that speaks volumes to how well our engineering firm did and how well the committee worked together with the engineering firm. So I thank the committee and BSC very much. On the 8th of February, everything was, the BSC group submitted the documents to the Department of Labor because we needed the prevailing wage schedule, the current one, and we received that on February 11th. And then everything is in place. The advertising is up. The ad ran in the New London Day on Monday, the 15th, and hopefully we're getting some interest. There'll be a plan set brought in to be available in the foyer of Town Hall if any of the construction or contractors want to take a look at it. And that way we will have our greeter here monitoring for proper COVID concerns. And then there is a pre-bid meeting. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended on February 19th at 9:30. People are to meet by the Shoreline Community Center, and our engineering firm will be directing that review of the project. Hopefully they'll be able to see with the snow, I'm not sure.
And that's on location, right?
Yeah. Then any questions potential contractors have will be submitted to Town Hall. Our engineer will respond to those questions. And the last day for questions is March 10th, 4 p.m. And any contractors who picked up a copy of the plan set from our printer, Seal and Old Saybrook will automatically get an electronic copy of all the addenda. And then on March 16th at 2 p.m. is the last moment, and anyone can provide a sealed bid, which will be opened right after that in Town Hall. And so it'll be a public opening, and then the engineering firm will evaluate the bids for their appropriateness. Everyone has to be pre-qualified by DOT, and then hopefully by the 22nd of March, we'll have completed that review and know who the apparent low bidder is. And hopefully, since the contract documents is included in all the bid documents available at their printers, the contract review process will go swiftly so that we can get to contract by the end of March. We have a target date of substantial completion of the sidewalks by Memorial Day. Those are the highlights.
Very good. Coming along. And I guess based on the bid prices, that will dictate how much of the sidewalk we can do along Route 156 Shore Road. So if people have aggressive bids, we can do more. So hopefully that'll be the case.
Right.
Yeah. Next one is the Haynes Park. That is virtually complete. There are some very minor things to be done, and the one thing that has to wait until the weather improves is the water system. In the crawl space of the restroom building at Haynes Park, there are 800 gallons of water storage capacity, and so the final step will be to make that system functional. There are some heater possibilities to keep it warm above freezing and so forth, but we don't want to push it at this stage. So while the job is virtually done, this will probably be another month until we can activate the water system, and then it should be functional for the spring. The next item is the Grassy Hill Road. I did some work on this, and I have given to you all some information here. The sheet entitled Grassy Hill Bridge Invoices, as you can see, we have spent about $79,000 on engineering of one sort or another, plus archaeological surveying work. And that's through the end of the year. And the contract with Jacobson, we have approximately $13,000 more to go on that. So that will get us through that phase of it. And that would include permits and final design. So then turning to the cost estimate, based on the new Jacobson cost estimate, which was sent up, let's see, that went up in October to the DOT. The cost of the project all in is $1,226,639. In that, it's a 50% grant. The town would contribute $613,320, as well as the state doing the same. So we have spent around 69,000, call it 70,000, on the engineering part of it. We have money yet to spend, the 13,000. So if you subtract what we have spent and will spend, That would bring that town requirement down to $557,000. Funds that have been put together for this project so far, I believe, are the carryover and the capital accounts, which in combination add up to $292,000. So if you keep coming down off that $613,000, I calculate we need to come up with another $265,000 approximately to do the job the way it was, that $1.2 million number. So if you take the fact that we have the state, for the construction part of it, the state would be putting up $613,000. We could, the money that the town has, and you got to subtract the $13,000 we haven't paid yet, we have $278,000 there, and then the new funds that would need to be raised through the next couple of years, the 260, there was a little difference in the numbers there, but and that would give us about $1,156,000 to do the project. So as you can see down on the bottom on the right-hand side, the August of 18 estimate from the engineer was that the project would cost $691,600, and then as of the October-November time frame, that the revision is $1.2 million, which is a startling 77% increase. That is all pretty much concentrated in the construction cost. I asked Howard, our engineer, to break out the different elements of the cost, and there are a number of categories, but many of these things, in terms of the bridge itself, different components and so forth, you can look through this and see exactly how he calculated it. But suffice it to say that until we open the bids, it's just like the sidewalk job, we don't know what the number will be until the bids are open. So hopefully they'll come in very close to what the architect's or engineer's estimate is. If they came up much above that, then we'd have to be scrambling for some more dollars. So I talked with Howard and I said, okay, if we continue on the path that we're on, we would need to raise about $250,000 over the next couple of years. I think we know that a big hang-up is going to be the Army Corps of Engineer permit. And that permit takes over a year to obtain. It's hard to understand why, but that's the deal. So
That could be good too.
Pardon?
That could be good too.
Could be.
We can split this for 2 years.
That's right, although, you're exposing yourself to inflationary costs and everything else, so who knows. One of the items in this this thing that was prepared was an inflation estimate. So if it were actually done in the summer of 2023, then we would have the budget of 22, which we're working on now, and we would have the budget of 23, and you could do whatever it is and maybe make it a little bigger just for inflation and so forth, and cut it in half each year, which would be, like $130,000, 140, you name it. That's somewhat doable, but it's still $600,000. I asked Howard, I said, okay, we heard from Todd Macknick that the bridge itself, the deck and the two tile pipes underneath, they should be fairly satisfactory. The parapets, they call them, the sidewalls, are essentially masonry, and they do go down below the surface of, they're not just sitting on top of the deck, they do go down below, and there's some connection, but obviously it's sort of a masonry wall, and if they were hit hard, it would probably crumble. So I said, well, what would it take to reinforce, make a different top, a decking and better sidewalls instead of replacing everything? And he said, well, probably $250,000 to $300,000. He said you'd probably have to put a new reinforced concrete deck on it that would then support a proper concrete wall. So, okay, that's interesting, but now you're looking at $250,000 to $300,000 plus the approximate $100,000 we've already invested into things, so you're at $4.
Right. This also includes redoing the intersection too. This 1-2 includes doing the intersection too. That's not cheap.
Yeah, there would be additional road work and so forth. In these estimates, the utility relocation is deemed to be a zero, and the current thought is that the utilities would move the wires, which means Eversource, Comcast, whatever ones there are, cable companies. So hopefully that would hold true, because there's a lot of wires in that vicinity. You're within a couple $100,000 of the investment we'd be making here. So from that standpoint, it probably is worth going to replace the bridge if you took a more austere look at it and said, well, it's lasted a lot of years. It's not, it's not a great bridge, but it's not rated sufficient to be a liability, and it says it's functionally obsolescent and so forth. But the only way you could really say you could avoid most of the cost would be to just say, we'll put this on the shelf, do it later, and we won't try to muster the $600,000 in the next couple of years. And you'd have to be, you've pointed out that you'd need to check with the insurance and all that to make sure that, notwithstanding the rating is 4 out of 9 on the bridge, that wouldn't present a potential liability if something happened. So we are at the time when we need to make a decision to go or no go. I guess on the plus side, to continue on over the next couple of years, it would be probably $125,000 to $150,000 per year to get the requisite funding in place to do our portion of it. And so, we've come this far. Do we want to stop and put it on the shelf, or do we want to go ahead and do it? Probably trying to do the decking and proper supports on the side. While that water course is fairly seasonal, when it does flow pretty heavily. And water, I guess, comes up out of the stream bed and overflows the road.
Well, I think we've gone far enough down the road where we kind of have to, and it's already on the radar. This thing's gonna need work. So I'm going to vote to continue and go with the project. But I think maybe we can straddle the 2 years and divide it in half. It's going to take a year, 14, 15 months for the Army Corps permit. You know, if we split it up, you got 264, I was gonna say 140 a year, or 135 a year for the next 2 budget seasons.
Yeah, you might want to nudge a
Add
little
a
bit.
little bit and bring it to 140, but yeah, I mean, it jumped up huge in 2 years.
Yeah,
But we've got quite a bit of money into this already, so I'd rather
Yeah.
continue on and bail.
and I'll have Nicole review my sheet to make sure she agrees that all this is proper. For instance, the funds available, I want to double check that, because every month when we spend money, these amounts go down and what we've paid goes up, so it's going to be trading places. But I think this is pretty accurate. And then the Board of Finance is meeting not this week, but next week, pretty much weekly thereafter. So we could have, they will want to obviously review this and weigh in on it as well. So that's where we are, and it was a big shock, obviously, when in the span of, I don't know, 15 months, the construction estimate went up so radically. But I think when you consider the road between the bridge and Route 1, I guess the original estimate didn't really talk about that, but the roadway items went from 102 to 140,000. The structure went from 250 to 520,000. So there's a whole schedule of different things. So most of these things are doubles. Now, as you can see, the other things, they don't go up much at all, like the engineering budgets and so forth. And there's a 10% contingency overall, which is going to be 100,000 nearly. And in this contract for the bridge itself, there's another 140,000, 15% contingency. So it seems like there's a fair bit of protection for unforeseen things. It's a really small bridge, and it's kind of astonishing to think, because I remember people were talking about when the DOT did the bridge on Route 1 just before Lord's Meadow, everybody was saying, can you believe they spent over $1 million on that thing? And here we are with this pint-sized little bridge, similar thing. So that's,
You know, the Mount Creek Bridge also, we had to go back to town meeting for additional funds for that too. So,
yes.
You know, it's
And the
kind
only
of
other
price of running a town, I think.
The only other wild card is that this wouldn't go out to bid for a while. So, if for some reason things get very busy and so forth, we're not trying to finance, so it's not like we're interest rate dependent.
Right.
But we are inflationary, although it's quiet right now. In a couple of 3 years, who knows? So that's basically where we are.
Well, I agree with Chris that we've gone far. We've been planning for this for a few years. We took advantage of the 50% grant when that became available. I know we're going to have to ask for our third extension, so we may have if we're not extended under the grant, that may be another point where we have to revisit this.
I can address that.
Okay.
Howard talked with the DOT contact, and both the time extension and the money doubling seemed acceptable to the DOT. They were not overly concerned about that. So till we get something confirming that, that is a concern. But from his point of view, that the DOT seemed willing and able to extend and increase.
That's terrific. You know, I think Howard's worked so well with the town. I appreciate him doing all the work that he has, and you know, I think he has a good relationship with the DOT, so if he feels comfortable that we'll be okay for another extension, that's really good to hear.
And this gentleman was also involved with the Mile Creek Bridge.
Great, great. Well, that, you know, I think that factors into my agreeing that we should move forward. And I agree with Chris that we should split the saving for the town portion for the 2021, or I'm sorry, 21-22 fiscal year and 22-23 fiscal year to plan for construction in 2023, hoping that all the permitting gets done in time for us to go out to bid and start construction in 2023. And I like the idea of considering 140,000 per each budget cycle to allow for some inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So should we put that in the capital for this year's?
Yeah, I think when we confirm,
All the numbers?
I think the board could, at this point, vote to recommend to the Board of Finance that we proceed, subject to confirming the numbers with the engineer and with the Director of Finance, just to make sure I didn't make any boo-boos on the calculations here. But at least we would then be in front of the Board of Finance with a recommendation, and by then we would have we'd have more confirmation over the numbers. So do we want to have a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance that Board of Selectmen recommends that we proceed with the project as submitted by Jacobson and subject to review of the numbers by the engineer and the finance director? We nonetheless would recommend proceeding with the project.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Just said.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ferry Road, sidewalk. As we know, the town was approved for a steep grant of $126,000, along with a $24,000 match by the town, totaling $150,000 to replace the sidewalk on the north side of Ferry Road. Not the entire length of Ferry Road, about 1,700 feet. And the sidewalk is presently 3 feet wide, which is narrow given today's standards. And but in keeping with the being in the center of town, the project would be a 4-foot sidewalk. And the sidewalk is in very poor condition, owing primarily to the fact that there are many mature trees that are on either side of the sidewalk, and the roots have buckled the sidewalk, making the panels go up, 15 degrees or so. So totally unsatisfactory for handicap accessibility. The tree commission had a walk last week, and the tree warden was on the walk, as well as the engineer. The engineer had a report prepared by a landscape architect which addressed the various trees that are along the sidewalk that are causing problems. The tree warden indicated that large trees, or really any trees that are planted near sidewalks, the roots which would go out toward the road basically don't do very well, because you run into the road and the subsurface of the road, and there's no moisture and nourishment and so forth. So the roots compensate on the other side away from the road and grow into the abutting property owner's yard, and that supports the tree and nourishes the tree. And if the tree is between the sidewalk and the yard, the roots are going to heave the sidewalk. And even if it's on the other side, the roots will heave the sidewalk. He explained that roots generally are probably between 12 and 15 inches below the surface of the ground, the ones that nourish the tree. So when you consider how a sidewalk is made, the panel's about 5 inches thick, and they like to prepare the subsurface probably 10 inches below that with different materials. So talking 15 inches, which is coincidentally just about the same depth as these roots, most of them. So if you were to put the sidewalk in properly, it would damage the tree roots pretty badly. If you were to deviate the sidewalk in a semicircle around the tree, the roots actually extend to the end of the branches. So if you have a very large tree, the branches could be 30, 40 feet wide, a radius. So if you move the sidewalk 10 feet away from the tree, you're not really doing much. And because the sidewalk goes by the tree, most of the damage is pretty consequential. So the landscape architect recommended removal of a number of trees, not all, and when the tree warden observed the trees, he said some of the canopies are distressed. Drought can have a problem, contribute to that, and just the nature of where they are, with half the root system stunted by the road. But obviously the trees have been there for 70 or 100 years, who knows, and so it'd take a lot of convincing to make people say that's a good idea. We also looked at perhaps having the sidewalk on the other side of the street, and there are not many trees. There are telephone poles, and we've got to find out from the engineer just how wide the town property or right-of-way is to know whether a sidewalk would fit properly on the other side. If you came down the other side, you could conceivably cross at Lieutenant River Lane. I think most of the time people don't park beyond Lieutenant River Lane anyway, and they park on both sides. So, usually one side has to walk to the other side anyway. So if you switch sides, people say, well, now you're making people cross the street. But I would dare say that with cars parked on both sides, it's probably half dozen. So that would be maybe a way to avoid the problem, but that's not necessarily an approved possibility at this point, so we'll try to find out. The tree commission has the report from the architect, the tree warden's looking at it, and ultimately they would probably make recommendations about what has to happen. There'd be conversations with the abutters. Ultimately, there'd probably be a hearing about what trees would be slated for removal and replanting plans. There have been trees along Lime Street and actually one on Ferry Road that was planted more recently that are more appropriate to be near the sidewalk. They're more straight up and down type of trees, and the roots will hopefully not be a problem. But it will be obviously controversial, and so we need to try to find all our options in terms of the other side of the street and speak with the homeowners. I think they deserve the first conversation, and then ultimately the public. I don't know whether doing nothing is an option because the sidewalk is so non-compliant. When we were walking there, the snow was still everywhere, and if you tried to walk up the panel, you unless you had crampons or something, you'd slip. So it's really not a suitable walkway at this point. So don't really have any final conclusion, but at this point, it'll be somewhat like Lime Street when we did this. We had the middle school saved for a hearing on trees, and we had a lot of people show up. So trees are very emotional, and we understand they've been here longer than most of us, so you'd like not to have to remove any. So we'll find out more about that.
Tim, who's doing all this landscape architecture and engineering work?
Say again?
Who's doing this engineering work and landscape architecture?
Jacobson, Wade Stevens was involved.
And whose budget is all of this coming out of?
There is a budget. Actually, the town budget provides for $102,000 because the town was going to do the whole thing, and so the new proposal is $48,000 more, and that's because of some drainage and so forth that would be added to it. They haven't done a whole lot yet, really.
Well, yeah, I know but I know with all the projects we have on with procedures and we practice what we preach here, and I just want to make sure for the record that it's Nathan Jacobson. Did they? Was there a bid request for them to do this work, or were they just selected by somebody?
For Jacobson?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was before I arrived, so you might know better than I.
No, we never really discussed it before.
Yeah.
You brought it up.
Yeah, they. It was kind of already assigned to Jacobson as far as I can see.
I don't recall that. Do you, Chris, having that discussion?
Well, you're talking about Jacobson as like the town engineer, or you're talking
Well,
about,
if
project?
Jacobson Engineering is shepherding this, but I think the involvement with Jacobson goes back because there was a budget of $102,000 in the current budget, so that I don't know.
I've known Jacobson, for years, but I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
I don't even recall. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, these things are important because it's currently adding up, and I've never seen a budget. So, as far as the comments on the sidewalk being 4 feet because it's in the center of town, the design standard for new sidewalks are 5 feet.
Well,
so we need a variance, right?
I attended a planning commission 824 hearing, and I think they are the ones that would okay that as well as the 824. That was postponed because they knew the tree commission was going to do a walk and so forth, so they did not make a decision on that at their meeting. And so there'll be enough time for the next meeting to get that sorted out. But it didn't seem like that would be a very big deal. And it's connecting to a 4-foot sidewalk at the church, and perhaps even at the other end. I didn't get the sense that would be much of a problem.
I went down, I measured the new sidewalk we just completed at the bathhouse, and those are all 4 feet at the lake.
Well,
I'm sorry.
the engineer...
The bathhouse sidewalks, they're all 4 feet.
The restroom?
At the restroom. So...
The engineer said the minimum standard for handicap is 3 feet.
Right.
which surprises me because now the DOT's 5 and the town, I guess, is 5. So I don't know why there'd be a 2-foot difference.
Well, if I recall, it is because of ADA. I
Yeah,
don't remember exactly all the details, but I know when people, particularly people that have disabilities, are crossing the sidewalk, they need enough bandwidth to put the slope part at the edge of the sidewalks, particularly, it's wider.
yeah, they have that little rumble strip type of thing.
Right. So that was one discussion I recall
Yeah.
hearing, but, yeah, I don't know about the bathroom, but I don't think the, planning does the variance, so that probably be zoning. But the municipal referral, it wasn't on their agenda, so I would just advise that, next time you go, you make sure it gets on the agenda. So people know that it's on there, they want to make a comment. But, that particular meeting, I happened to listen to it, it wasn't on the agenda, and nobody made a motion to add the referral to it. So it was a good discussion.
You talking about planning?
Yeah, they made the.
Yeah, it was on the agenda.
No, they added it that day. They didn't do the 24 hours. Because I looked.
I did too.
All right, well, we'll move on. We're not going to get dinner if we keep this going.
All right, so
Okay.
anyways, yeah, I just like to find interesting the bathhouse is working, and there was nothing.
Okay, Tanamahay, I believe you both received my draft of recommendations. It's close to what Harbor Management put together. There are a couple little minor tweaks, but I think the Harbor Management document captured the sense of what at least I think should be done. So if you've had a chance to read it.
Well, I didn't have them side by side, but I did remember. So like your tweaks, we changed it to the 1 hour after sunset, right?
They actually modified that as well.
We
Yeah,
have 2 parking spots.
that's the same.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Well, it's just the signage would be at the pillar. As you come in behind the pillar, it would be at the Y, no entry, private property, landing to the right. And when you get down to where the parking is, there'd be another sign saying private drive, no entry, for the driveway that goes up to the house. They're certainly welcome to post additional signage down toward the water where their property starts, which actually comes around in front of the house. But if they wanted to keep people off the wall that they have and so forth, they could do that. There'd be a boulder or a large rock that would stop traffic from being able to go what I call the path down to the water from where the parking is. We don't need vehicles going in there. And it's clear that the ice house and the dam are on their property. So we specify that that is their responsibility, those items. I think Harbor Management does not want to do any major changes to the vegetation, leave it rustic looking. If there were to be some parking up at the gate, that could be done perhaps. Maybe outside the gate, I guess that would be on the south side, I think it is. You might be able to put a car sort of where
It's pretty tight up there.
yeah, and then on the inside of the gate on the right-hand side coming in, you might be able to put a car there, but it drops off. You might have to clear some stuff to make that work. I think on the left side, there was some conversation about that, but that would really mess up a bunch of tree roots to large trees, so I don't think that would be a good idea. And I think if the 2 parking spots were filled, then we want to have it so that a car going down there could turn around and leave without going on the owner's property, of the abutter's property. So I think during walks that we had with the owner, while they would like no vehicles down in that parking area, I think we feel it's important to continue that, and but we do want to have people not going onto their property, and with signage, I think that would be a little clearer.
Yeah, I think this was a good document. I think the Harbor Management Commission did a really great job on this, and our jurisdiction, it's really under the Board of Selectmen's jurisdiction, so it was nice of them to do our work for us, so thank you. The part that I have questions on after looking at this again is the discussion on the boulders on B and C, the large rock in the center of the access path to water, and then possible placement of other rocks. I don't really know where that's going to be, and I also am concerned if someone is bringing a kayak down there, will that be a problem for them? Because I just can't envision this. That sounds like it's more harbor management jurisdiction anyway than the Board of Selectmen. So I kind of would like to drop B and C from there without.
Well, we need that. We need the rock blocking the path to the water.
Where is that exactly?
Well, you know where the parking areas we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then it narrows, and there's a narrow little dirt area that goes down to the water. Might go 30 feet or so, 40 feet. I don't know. We don't want
drive down there.
We don't want cars in there.
Right. You can walk around it with your kayak and drag your kayak.
Yeah, it'd just be.
A car wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Go down there
and
try to hot rod down there or whatever they want to do.
Or, at dark or something, somebody could go down in there and they'd be out of sight, out of mind type of thing. I just don't think we want somebody who doesn't want to play by the rules drive down there and skirt a car that was parked down there and leave their car there. The reason for the other potential boulders is that I don't know if, where their driveway comes back, whether that might require some positioning or something to stop people from parking. But it's not contemplated that we would need anything more, but I think the one boulder is pretty important.
Okay, so that's going to be way up on top then. Gary, they're showing me it's not going to be down by the water, so it is under our jurisdiction. So I feel better about that. Then I think we should just, are we sure it's going to be one rock, or are we thinking it's, because C says possible other rocks to detour?
Well, as I was saying, the one boulder is to block that little access to the water. Mm-hmm. If you visualize where the parking is, past where their driveway goes up to the house, there's an area there that I don't know if anyone would try to park there. It wouldn't be where the parking is, but they might say, well, gee, there's space to leave a car to the left of that little trail going down to the water. Mm-hmm. I hope we wouldn't need it, but we talked to the owner, and they're all for trying to keep it to the minimum. So it says that's why the word possible. If it becomes an issue, then you could put something there to deter anyone from parking perpendicular to the little path going down into the water.
Do we really think this boulder then, if it's coming way up on top, is really going to prevent degradation of wetlands or watershed erosion? Because that's why I led me to believe it was down low when we're talking about erosion. It doesn't sound like it really will have anything to do that. It's just to keep people from going down there.
You talking about B?
B, the last sentence.
Prevents a vehicle from going down there.
Yeah.
Trail.
It doesn't sound like it has anything to do with degradation of wetlands or watershed erosion, which would be out of our jurisdiction anyway.
If you get somebody with a four-wheel drive, without the rock, a vehicle could go down there and make a mess.
I'm just saying, the first sentence, okay, but the second sentence, I don't think we need to put that in there, because we're not trying to prevent degradation of wetlands or watershed erosion with a boulder.
Right. Just take it out.
Well, a car would be.
Well, we've just had a discussion that the idea is not to have someone driving there and going into the water. Is it, do you really think that we're preventing degradation of wetlands by having a boulder there?
I think if the boulder weren't out there, a car could go down there and it would make ruts and it would impact the wetlands. I think.
Is there degradation of the wetlands now? Because that's...
Well, why don't you give me your revision?
I will take it out.
Just take out the line. It makes no difference.
It's not in our jurisdiction anyway, and I don't want to get...
All right, so we'll scratch the second sentence on B. Anything else?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I just don't want to
Well,
set up a boulder that causes people to trip and fall.
What I might suggest is if we like this, we could make a motion to adopt it, and I could share it with the owners and show it to the Harbor Management Commission, maybe it's Harbor Management first, and then we can get going on getting the signage, because that, it won't be long before the weather is warm enough to, I think the signage would really help their cause now, because it would properly delineate private property and the landing.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept this. Minus the line.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Okay, wonderful. Just to report, because our last meeting was canceled, the police contract has been signed and a copy been put to the town clerk. So that's done. Because we haven't met since the town meeting, just wanted to reiterate that we did designate Roger Smith as the Citizen of the Year. Actually, he came to the meeting hall, and that was very nice. And before the meeting, we went to his house on a roost and surprised him up at his home. So that was very nice. The town report was accepted. There are town reports at Town Hall for the public's consumption. The affordable housing ordinance was approved, as well as the modifying the ordinance, changing the polling location from Cross Lane to the Lima Middle School gymnasium. So those items all are, that was put in the paper, I think a week ago. So I think next week would be the 15-day period of time that they would be effective. Let's see, the Senior Center Building Committee met, and actually at the Board of Finance, I talked to the board about the plan that the Senior Building Committee has to advertise for a consultant who would take what work that the committee has done and try to translate it into a architectural feasibility study. So they, at the end of the month, would like to put in an RFP into the newspaper. There'd be a cost for that, obviously, which we have the two sums, the senior money, $15,000, and the Lime allocation of $15,000. So they would put in the RFP, request for proposal. I have not seen the completed document yet, but we've asked that that be shared so that we can have a look at it. And then once they put it in, they would evaluate it. They have some pretty capable people on the committee, so this type of thing is not foreign to them. There was discussion about using the collective town money first to pay for things, and then the seniors' money. Obviously, if the consultant costs come in at the level of $30,000 or more, then that won't make much of a difference. But anyway, we do have a commitment from the seniors on the funds. I don't know if they're in a separate account, but I think we know they exist. So I don't think we have to be overly concerned about that. So they are doing yet another survey, I think, with businesses, I believe, at this time. So I think I talked to Steve Mattson and Lime about whether they wanted any additional information, and he seemed to feel that since the selectman is on that building committee, he's fine with where they are with it. So unless anyone has a problem with the idea that they're going to start looking for the actual consultant probably in a couple of weeks, they'll just do that. They have the money which was allocated for that purpose, and so they'll just proceed with it. Okay. New business. We have in the budget for next year the finance department going to a total of 35 hours a week, up from 30 hours a week. We have the finance director and her assistant and two people, and they process all the financial things and work on the budget, and they even do a certain amount of human resource work, and you name it, there's a lot. So Nicole in particular made the comment that because of the workload, she really has lost vacation hours and works a good bit more than the 30 hours that the work week is advertised. Now, for salaried people, the work week of 30 hours is not necessarily a given. That's what the hourly folks work, but the salaried are not constrained by 30 hours. But if it becomes consistent, then obviously it can be a source of irritation. Now, part of it is that if one has a salary that is a fairly good salary, then you don't need to look at how many hours you work. Your salary takes care of you. So salary survey has not been done probably in about 10 years, so that would be something that we'd like to do this next year. But because the Board of Finance approved the salary schedule, which included having these two individuals go up to 35 hours, I would like to suggest that for the period March to June, that we kick in the 35 hours and talk to the Board of Finance about the additional dollars that would be required to do that, because obviously they are working these extra hours now, and I think it would be fair to do it. Now, the assistant is an hourly person, so her time, if it's required, would be at extra hours compensated. But with Nicole, it's just a salary, and subject to verifying what's an appropriate salary. Why I think she feels that she's putting a heck of a lot of time and would like to have this this extra 5 hours start sooner than the start of the fiscal year. If you add up everything that has been involved, it's probably a little over $11,000 between now and the end of the year.
So there's nothing retroactive then?
A small portion is, because Nicole has been keeping track since the end of the year, basically, but not back beyond just some additional.
It wouldn't start March 1st. We'd make it effective earlier then.
Yes, that's when it would technically start, but there's been some additional time that has been earned, let's say, which amounts to around $3,300 between December and the present time, in that 11,000, 11,200 actually. It's I think when we get the salary survey, we'll know more. We'll know whether it's fair or not, in terms of, we probably have 8 or 10 people who are salaried, so and there's a feeling on some parts that they work a lot longer than the standard work week. And I try to tell people who are salaried, you don't have to worry about hours because it's salary. But nevertheless, I guess you see people leaving at 4 o'clock and you say, gee, I'm here either earlier or later, and evening meetings and all that sort of thing. So I would like to talk to the Board of Finance about this particular adjustment and see what they think. But first up would be here with this group. So would appreciate your input.
Well, I don't have a problem with the start date of 3/1. The only problem I possibly could see is the retroactive. Because I know we've switched people to salary within this past year, and I don't believe any of them, you would know more than I would, but said, oh, well, I also worked 2 weeks ago, 4 hours, whatever, I want that pay too.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't think it would be fair. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Chris makes a good point. I support that. I think to talk about fairness is my issue. There's no doubt in my mind that our finance director probably exceeds her job description every single day. And so I think the job review is really going to be important to make sure she's fairly compensated. That position, rather, is fairly compensated. And, as Tim said, that function does a lot more than just finance. So I totally understand that she probably is burning the candle at both ends, and an adjustment would be appropriate. The equity thing is my deal. I mean, I don't feel that we have a director of public works who does above and beyond many days too. He's salaried. I know there's some issues there. I feel uncomfortable doing this for one salary position and not doing it for others. I think that sets maybe people up against each other instead of working as a team. I did get a salary review for directors of public works, which I shared with Tim.
Now that is a 40-hour, all those people are 40 hours.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, Public Works is 40.
Our public works is, but on the salary thing, I'm gonna send this down to Chris, because he didn't get a copy of it. And I sent that to you. So,
Yeah, I'm looking through this myself.
so, I mean, that's really I think that we have outstanding staff, and I think they work very hard for the town of Bullrun. And, morale is important. And recognition is important. And one thing I had mentioned to Tim is there such a thing as maybe having the Board of Selectmen, the first selectman, have a bonus pot that he or she could utilize to provide, recognize outstanding work. We don't have anything like that, and maybe that will help. But I raise it only because I'm concerned about equity, different functions doing outstanding work, and I'm uneasy singling out one employee and not the others.
Well, I think that that Nicole is probably the only person in town hall that would really need an adjustment in hours. I think all the other salaried in town hall, well, the survey will determine that as well, but it's not nearly as apparent with anybody else. Most everybody else pretty well clocks in at their regular time. There might be occasion where they work, like I'm sure the town clerk worked on the election more and so forth, but I think with Nicole, it's much more pronounced in terms of week to week to week, whereas the others, I think, their jobs don't go very often way beyond like she does. And Public Works is a 40-hour equivalent there in terms of the staffing and so forth. So that's already a higher number of hours if you try to equate it to hours. Ultimately, I think the guiding thing will be what these surveys point out. And of course, that list has some pretty big places too. So you got to take comparable jobs. But I know this is somewhat of an immediate situation just because it's become a sticking point, really. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
So Mary Jo, what's your opinion on this position then, that we're talking about?
Nicole.
You're comparing it to Ed, but how about?
Well, I'm uncomfortable highlighting that position when I feel there are other employees, regardless of how many hours they're salaried for, that I know go above and beyond, and that the town reaps their professionalism every single day. Like I said at the start of this, I know that Nicole deserves an increase. I think she does the work of many people. But that's why I would feel more comfortable if Tim had some kind of bonus pot to recognize that, as opposed to recognizing a person versus a function.
Well, I think that
It's a position.
yeah, I think clearly the way it's structured, the hours are there. And when you look at the accumulated, she keeps track of the extra hours, although it has no particular value, unlike an hourly person, it's like 300 hours or something. So by moving it up a little bit, I think it would clearly help get the work done. And because the salary survey will obviously play into it, but I think the number of hours, I really don't want to base it on hours, but I think in this case, when you look at 30, it's not cutting it, and so an extra 5 would help. And it's really, a part of this it's not all Nicole, it's the other person as well. So
I'm quite comfortable supporting the additional time for the function. I think it's really important and necessary, but I'm uncomfortable highlighting just that function and not looking at supporting other functions. And I'd like to say that I think it makes sense for this board and the Board of Finance to consider having some kind of bonus allocation that the first selectman or first selectwoman can allocate to employees that are salaried who are going above and beyond their job description and hourly.
That's going to be a popularity contest in the making. I think that's trouble.
Well, I kind of think that's what this is too. I mean, if you really want to get down to
No,
it.
because I think we clearly understand that the hours are far in excess of.
Do you think Ed just works 40 hours a week?
Yeah, I'm sure he works 40 hours a week.
Do you think he just works 40 hours?
No.
That's, I mean, to me, that's the same, whether it's 30, 35, 40, 45.
Yeah.
And you
But it is a 40-hour week. This is a 30-hour week, so it's 10 hours different. So we're nudging this up.
Well, why did you pick 35 and not 40 then?
Because she was here that night and asked for 5, not 10.
I know, and she said that would be sufficient. Well, Tim, this is separate. This is a one-time thing to take her till June. Why aren't you going to 40?
That's what's being proposed. And ultimately, I think the salary will be the more important criterion. And but I think this rate is probably her current rate must be low on the scale. I haven't been able to do the analysis on that, but
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you my perspective. You get to do what you want to do in this case.
All right.
But my perspective is, in a sense, you are giving her a bonus.
yep, it'll
And
be.
that's what I'm suggesting you be able to do.
Well, technically,
Well, you
actually,
need it.
you're giving her a raise because you're changing her work description from 30 hours to 35, and we're compensating her for the extra 5 hours. That's what will be done.
Mm-hmm.
This position, finance department, both of those people, are changing from 30 hours to 35 going forward.
Going forward.
So it's
But
not a
between now and
bonus.
June-
It's not a bonus. Technically it's a raise, but it's also they're working for it. So it's not like it's a step up.
I agree with that.
And then will we get to-
compensating them for probably being underestimated or whatever, or getting more responsibility than their original job was based on. I totally agree with that.
If you pay them the retroactive, I would say yes, that's a bonus. But I'm not in favor of the retroactive. We want to change the hours March 1st, and you got to change the budget. I'm okay with that. Should we just wait until July 1st and then change everything and go through the employee?
Well, as I say,
Or do a
there's
survey
been.
on it and see how many other towns are at 30 and bring her up to.
Well-
We've been talking about this since last January. So I mean, now we're kind of in a pickle. We've been suggesting, Chris and I have both been suggesting this be done for over a year now.
So what would you like to do then? Do you want to wait till July? Do you want to?
No,
Yeah.
I
You guys,
think this would be an incremental step, and then when we get to the point where we can do the salary surveys for the whole crew, you know, the whole town hall, and related ones, which was done probably about 10 years ago, and get a new one of those, we can see who's over, who's under, et cetera.
So when is our next, salary survey come out?
Well, it's not scheduled. We would have to commission.
Maybe we should for next budget, or this
Well,
coming budget, put in a survey.
I think we would do, we have money to do, hopefully, most of it between carryover and personnel stuff. So we could go out and shop firms and come up with a survey, and then get that underway. And once that comes back, then that would probably be after the budget is finalized. I don't know exactly. But if there were some serious inequities, then they could be addressed at that point. But I think it would go a long way to
I make a motion that we recommend increasing Nicole's, or the finance department's hours from 30 to 35 per week, compensated beginning March 1st to the end of the fiscal year. And that we have a commitment from the first selectman to get the survey salary done in the first quarter of the new, I guess we're almost through the first quarter, the second quarter of the year.
Oh, second, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna, I may have to get your particulars so I can write it down properly afterward, but, so it would be to implement this thing?
On March 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that you will get a salary survey done in the second.
Yeah, we could start working on, all right. Seconded, any other discussion on it? All in favor? Okay. Now, I guess we can go to public comment. So, 9:09.
All participants are being asked to unmute themselves.
All right, have we members of the public on the phone who would like to make a comment? All right, hearing none.
All participants have been muted.
All right, other business.
Oh, you.
Thanks, sir.
Got a whole blank piece of paper here. So.
No, make it brief, please. We're 2 hours into this.
Okay.
Well, we've been in it for a month. I did find that memo.
If you could push that mic again, because I want to try to copy down what you're talking about, so.
I did find the memo. I sent it to both of you from the chairman of the EDC. It was sent to us on January 21st. So this is the memo I referenced it under communications at the beginning of the meeting hours ago. But basically, he is requesting that the Board of Selectmen discuss have a joint meeting with all the boards and commissions to discuss EDC's current initiatives. And he has 2 attachments. He sent this on the 21st. So I think he really wants some feedback or some discussion in the Board of Selectmen about how we can.
This is economic development, right?
Yep.
So does he want to have the meeting first with us, or with us and all the other boards at the same time? The way you read it?
His memo says, attached you will find a memo requesting a public forum to include all of the boards and commissions with the purpose of discussing how the town can benefit further from our work with advanced CT. It also updates the Board of Selectmen and EDC's current initiatives. This is a very ambitious agenda requiring the efforts of a full contingent of commissioners, and he goes on asking for the appointments which we made today. So I have re-emailed that to you guys to take a look at.
I guess we could try to throw a date out there with a time and get a big WebEx thing going. I don't know how many when you figure all the boards and commissions, land use stuff, I guess.
Well, we figured it out, and then we get 25.
Could be a crowd.
Here. Could get only 25 were allowed for the last meeting.
Really?
Wasn't that the number that we had? 25?
No, but on the phone.
No, but I'm saying here, so obviously the phone, the WebEx is really going to have to play a part.
No, but I mean, if I would say they should run it, and you could get everybody using their computer, not use this thing.
Yeah.
And you could be wherever you have the computer with the video, and that would, hopefully it wouldn't be so large that it would be unmanageable. I don't know. But you're probably, whatever day you're going to pick, people are going to have conflicts. So, but I guess we could do that, and if they have if they run it and have an agenda and keep it nice and tight, that would be fine. Yeah. Shall I call him?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
All right.
Yeah. I chatted with the board the last time we met. Regarding a couple things with Connecticut Water and Missy Construction. So one of them was the homeowner at 51 Portland Avenue. And apparently Tim had given the homeowner some contacts at Connecticut Water. I had a contact from the Soundview commissioner, or chair of the commission, and they were not getting any feedback or any response at all. The last thing I saw was that the Connecticut Water person did call them back last week, late last week or early, I guess it was late last week. They believe that connection to the cottage is already upgraded. It sounds as if they also believe that the connection of concern is from the curb to the house, which would be on the homeowner. Bottom line is there was obviously a total lack of communication between the construction firm and the homeowner. But at least they were contacted again.
Well, I tried to get Chris Wojcik I said, she's waiting, give her a call. Did he call her?
Yep.
So why are we involved?
Well, we were involved because nothing was happening for 2 months. So
No, but I mean,
follow-up.
this Connecticut Water is taking the initiative to upgrade mains, connect houses, etc. So if we've made the connection between the appropriate person and her, I should think we can exit. I mean, we didn't hire Connecticut Water to do this, and I should think if she doesn't have a water pipe, that's pretty cut and dried. So I don't understand the problem. Is Connecticut Water after?
The problem is there are constituents, and they were not getting
I understand
served
that.
by Connecticut Water. That's the problem.
But if I called him first, or emailed him, and then left a message, and if he's contacted her, is it still not working? Do we have to call the president of the company and say one of our townspeople is not getting the word, or what?
I was following up that it wasn't until late last week, after 2 months, that they finally got some communication with Connecticut Water. I thought it would be helpful for you to know that the communication was not great on this project.
But is it being resolved at this point?
My understanding is that the homeowners are done with the deal, but they don't believe that Connecticut Water is correct on their assumption, but they are not pursuing it. What I saw from the communication from Connecticut Water was that Chris assumed that the hookup between the curb and the house was shallow and that it was up to the homeowner to bury that. What I'm not sure of is if that's actually the case, but the homeowner has decided to not pursue it at this point. So there's still some lack of communication and understanding, but it took 2 months to get Chris to respond to these homeowners, and I think it's important that we know that. To your point of our responsibility, we had a construction project in our town. I think it is our responsibility to know how it went. Now, continuing on that is the construction company cracked a sidewalk on Hartford Avenue, one of our new sidewalks. And Tim, you had given me the contact person to reach out to, which I had done that, emailed and copied you, and I've not heard anything. When I contacted your office last week, I was told we don't have any agreement with Connecticut Water or the construction company. So now we have a case where they need to come back and fix something, but we have nothing in writing that makes us be able to go after them to repair something. So
Well,
I think that's a problem.
Do they have to pull a bond in town?
I don't think so. But I mean, Connecticut Water is doing the upgrades. We are, they're in our streets doing it. But if they damage the sidewalk, one would think very clearly that they'd come and fix it. Now, I don't know if is it the shadows? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if they've attempted to have them come back and fix it, has it just been no contact, or are they saying, no, we're not going to fix it, or what's the story?
The story is it's cracked on town property, town sidewalk. I sent out a text to the person you referred me to and copied you, and I'm not getting any feedback. That was a month ago.
Well, maybe we ought to send them a registered letter or something. Someone at the company to make sure that this issue, along with the photo, is going to be handled.
Yeah. Was it the same individual, Chris?
I don't recall right now. I'll have to check right now.
Well, give me a call and we'll get the particulars, and then I'll call them.
Do we really not have a contract or an agreement in town hall that speaks to liability or anything? Do we have nothing with these construction companies that came in town and worked on our streets and sidewalks? We have nothing that we can fall back on?
We usually have a bond.
I was told no.
No, I don't think so. I'm not aware of
Some of
it.
these contractors have to get bonds.
Unless they did something up in the building department.
And there's subdivision stuff, but this could be something to look into because of this situation.
Well, they have been cooperative. I think we can probably call, go up the food chain and say we are not getting proper attention on this thing, and go up to ultimately the president of the company or something if we are not getting service. So maybe you and I can give me the particulars and we'll ramp it up.
I'll resend it. I have pictures. Ed Adanti visited the cracked sidewalk and confirmed that it was due to construction. I have not done a full sidewalk walk to see if there's anything else, but okay. We have the Affordable Housing Commission that is been approved, but I got emails from the chairman of the Affordable Housing Committee asking for a budget, which we did plan for. So that's one question, is what do you guys think we need to do about providing for them to have some kind of budget to do what they need to do?
Yeah, we have to also,
Next summer.
we also have to populate that commission.
Can we appoint people as we get them, so we can continue the progress of the committee?
Well, I call Michael because I think he might make suggestions as to who might be good to come over. In his letter, he indicated people with certain skill sets and so forth, and you know, that would be nice. I don't know how we could find special people that have special skills and entice them to come do the job. You know, it would be nice to have a lot of the commission be some of the people who are working on it already. If he thought that individuals had good instincts and so forth, that would be a good start. And maybe leave some room for some people that might come on that we haven't been introduced to yet. So I'll give him a call and talk about budgets and
Yeah, I think they're going to need a budget.
the appointments.
Okay. And I know at our last meeting, I had asked if we were talking about the McCulloch property. I think, Chris, you said that it hadn't been surveyed yet? Am I recalling that?
I didn't say anything about
Anyway, we have the two
Oh,
properties.
that piece of property.
Yes.
I don't know about the last meeting, but my suggestion is we have to get it surveyed.
I think that was what you said.
I think that's one of the first steps. We're gonna have to get it surveyed, see if we can get the 2 lots in, and do the engineering on that. They're gonna require test holes and surveying, so someone's gonna have to spearhead that. But yes, that's what, I thought you meant the open space, sorry.
Oh, okay. So
Which
but
one
at
is
that
this?
meeting-
The 2 lots at the end of Flat Rock that the McCulloch family donated for you know, they gave a so-called envelope with the term, but we kind of got to pick where our 2 lots, the way I understood, we have to pick where the 2 lots can go, if they can go, hopefully they can go. So
The McCulloch ones.
That's it, and when
so that would fall probably under their affordable housing budget.
Well, exactly, and I don't think that, both have time constraints, and I think when we last met and talked about this, we discussed, Tim, you were going to call Hope to see if they might not be interested in taking that project on.
I guess we'd have to explore what groups would do it as opposed to, I don't know if we can just give it to any one particular group, but
Give it, or will they buy it? They buy land.
they have the adjacent ones, but
We donated them to them. We didn't charge them, if I
yeah.
remember.
I just don't know if there's like Habitat or anybody else would be eager to do something, and how do you,
Well, I think first things first, we have to see what we have. We have to have a survey and say, okay, we can get these 2 lots on, and then go talk to these committees or
Well, probably-
or other organizations, say, and we have 2 lots that are qualified for affordable housing, you know.
there probably has to be some legal work to put the language on the deed, so it is
Well,
considered
that's what
affordable.
This committee, I would think, would be doing.
And open space, open space technically owns the property, so they would probably, we'd have to figure out where to get funds to do the surveying work and all.
You know, it would have to come out of the budget, but yeah.
Yeah, because I guess the lots would have a value. I don't know if the original ones were sold to Hope or how
I
they,
thought they were donated. I don't remember any.
but where do you get the funds to do these ministerial tasks?
Well, we're gonna have to pay for it. It'll come out of the town budget.
Yeah, but where?
Well, we're gonna have to budget something before July 1st. That's why with these people, when we get this group up and running, we can figure out, they can get a couple ballpark figures of what the survey is gonna be, into engineering cost.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna have to put 10 or 15 grand in that account.
That much?
By the time you get done surveying and engineering, things aren't cheap.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to do a lot of
Anyways, they can decide. That's not our thing, but
Okay. Tim, did you get in touch rather with Mike Hanson?
Yep.
And what's the story in that?
I talked to Roger Davis too, so the one thing I'm not very clear on is I expect there had to be notification to any abutter that an individual is interested in purchasing the lot, and before we start doing too much or causing anybody to spend money, probably you'd have to go to the abutters and say, we have been contacted, have you any interest in this? We don't have a price at this point, because so I think we could get that underway, because I don't know, when we did the Roger Davis parcel before, do you recall that the town notify the abutters for the parcel he purchased?
I don't recall that part.
Because I don't know if you could just say, yeah, go ahead, we'll sell it to you if you also abut the property.
well, do you put it on like a little bid auction? Do you know?
Well, you probably just say, we have someone has expressed interest in acquiring the property, have you any interest? And if they say no, then fine.
Well, more than likely, it's only going to be the bidders would be the abutting neighbors, because, no.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Go out and buy a thing, but I think we have to somewhat open it up.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
It would be pretty simple to say,
almost
Three-
like a tax sale type deal.
or just say, are you interested? And then if two people say, then you might have to go into a bidding.
Well, I think what would be better is all four neighbors, maybe, send them a certified letter. Here's your letter, we're gonna be putting this
Yeah.
on the thing. We get the little green cards back, put it in the file in case anybody said, hey, no.
Or
not
respond
bid.
within so many days, or we will,
Well, by signing and returning the thing, we know that they acknowledge that they received it.
yeah, but I think you want to put a date certain saying, tell
Yeah.
us if you have any interest. If not, we don't hear from you by such and such a date, we will take that as no interest.
All right, but, we'll just go to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So you'll do that?
Can I make a motion, Mary Jo, or you, no more?
Just got one more. Sorry. We got word from Jim Ward. He's doing a line-to-line food share garden initiative. He got the okay by Parks and Rec to have this garden by Town Woods, and he's putting out a request that he have an informational Zoom meeting middle of March to talk about it. But in other words, it's going to be a really neat thing. It conjoins sustainability and outreach and education, and I'm really excited that Jim has pursued this for the community, and I hope it's a great thing. And,
Has this gone through a bunch of land use people and all?
I believe you went to Park and Rec.
It went to Park and Rec.
Did it go to inland wetlands?
And
Is it garden? I don't know.
it's obtaining.
Well, you don't want to have it on top of that vernal pool.
Oh, okay.
He's obtaining site approval from Inland Wetlands Commission.
They have that?
In the process.
He has gotten it according to his note. That
Okay.
after meeting with Parks and Rec Commission and obtaining site approval from Inland Wetlands Commission, a parcel of land behind the field house has been secured.
How are they going to handle water?
I don't know.
Well, at his presentation,
We'll learn
we'll
about
ask.
it.
Yeah, because I mean, if they expect to use the town building, that.
Well, we'll see what he has to say, but it's a garden.
Who's chairing this thing? Are you on top of it? Because I don't really know anything about it.
It's Jim Ward who came to me. He lives on.
Well, we ought to have somebody kind of riding herd on it, because make sure they go to where they have to go and all that stuff. So,
Well, I'm just sharing this because I think it's pretty exciting.
yeah, it'd be very nice,
They're
but,
doing a good-
you know, you just
good
got to
job.
make sure the T's are crossed.
Of course.
So are you honchoing it?
I don't want to, but if you want. to.
Sure,
If
come
Mary
on.
Jo, I'll kick it to you first, Mary Jo.
I'm going to listen in his Zoom meeting to find out more about it. I can guarantee you that.
I just think
Why
we ought to
don't
have a
we-
checklist of what they need to do before this is all a done deal, you know,
All
to
right,
make
I'll
sure.
I'll talk to him if you want.
Talk to Dan Beret too, you know.
Okay.
And then finally, I'm just going to...
You said that was it.
No, I'm sorry, I lied. One other thing, just going to say that, just to remind you both that I really think it's time that the town signed on the resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. I think it supports all the work we've done in town to being fair and equitable and open. You know, as we've said at this board, we think the town has done a good job, so I think we should herald that. I do think that the resolution jives with some of the other things we're working on, affordable housing, sustainability. We have a great community, we have good education, we have access to good health care, and it just seems to make sense to me. So I hope that both of you will reconsider and consider signing it. Now I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's 6:29. Okay, thank you.
Here. Oh, give it a name, come on.